Okay, guys, I am going to do a comparison between, sorry, bumping tripod, trying to get situated here. Okay, I already lit the candle because I started this video already, but, and I want the candle to be centered, but I can't because, it will set my phone on fire, which I don't want. Okay. So today we're comparing the reissue of the first edition of the Starchild Tarot and the Moonchild Tarot. So first of all, I think the gilding on the edges is probably the same. My Moonchild, which is the one on the right, is it's over a year old. I've had it like close to a year and a half. So it's definitely a little bit more faded, but it's that same kind of like sparkly, greenish, yellowish, muted gold, which is really nice. The cardstock is about the same thickness. This new Starchild, it's like a much more like buttery matte, kind of a sticky buttery matte. It's a little bit more flexible, it seems. Maybe it seems like it's a little bit easier to shuffle than the Moonchild. However, the cards are kind of sticky. Okay, so we're just going to do a flip through. So we've got, oh, I am providing shadow. Like I already started this video over once because I'm not filming like in the brightness of the day like I normally am. So I can't like really lean forward. Okay, so I'm just going to like flip through the cards without picking them up because I'm going to create shadow if I pick them up and then lean forward. So I'm just going to have to trust, that this will be clear and you can see without me looking directly into the viewfinder because it's over there. Okay. So here's the Fool / Starseed. I really prefer this one. This is one of my very favorite Fool cards of all time. I love the white. It looks like a white German Shepherd, but I'm sure you're supposed to see it as a wolf. The white wolf and sort of like the dancer, just like, it's so expressive. I like that. And I'm just personally, I don't really vibe with the whole Starseed storyline. No shade if you do. It's just I think I like the idea of it, but the way that it's worded typically is a little, doesn't work for me, I guess. It's kind of hard to get these. It's sort of like Children of Letha tarot, that's super buttery, like they stick together and it's hard to like get them apart. Magician. I really like this one. I like this sort of psychedelic. It's really interesting to see. I have all three of Danielle Noel's Oracle decks that she did the art for, and I have Moonchild and then this edition of Starchild. I used to have the Akashic borderless edition of Starchild, but it didn't really work for me. But the imagery in this first edition of Starchild, it's so interesting, like the evolution of Danielle Noel's artwork, because as she has gotten better at her craft in some ways, her art has gotten more faded. We'll see, like, just as we go along. I think Moonchild era is kind of like the pinnacle of her art. I think like her art recently has just gotten, it's almost like she can't stop. She just like keeps going and going and going and like making things even more blended and blurry. And yeah, anyway, I do prefer this High Priestess. This isn't necessarily here to like, oh, I've got like a little chip in the bottom of my card. This isn't really to like, you know, necessarily pick which one's better. Do you see how in this card, this woman's figure, sorry, I'm going to try not to lean forward because I'm creating shadow. This woman's figure is elongated and it looks kind of photoshopped. Like, one thing I've noticed, I watched someone do a comparison between the first edition Starchild and then this reissue, and there are some changes, and one of the really positive changes that she made is that a lot of the like photoshopping and sort of thinning down of the women has been kind of compensated for in this edition, but not so with this card. Like, she still looks, her proportions are not human. So this particular High Priestess card is a little, I don't know, what happened? Oh, I didn't, sorry, I didn't flip it over. Okay. I'll show you what I mean whenever we get there. Whenever we get to one of the figures that I know she kind of made more normal proportions again. I love this Empress. I love this too, though. Oh my God, with the mushrooms. This is one of the ones that she changed. Like the original first edition of Starchild, it was a lot different. It didn't have all these mushrooms and stuff. But I love this so much. Normally, like a skinny blonde chick is not going to be good for me for an Empress, but this one works. And this one, oh, this is one of my very favorite Empress cards of all time. I love it. Personally, I'd rather see a lion as an emperor, but that's just me. I still have trouble with, like, I've gotten better, like, seeing dudes in my cards was really hard for me at first when I was a baby tarot reader a year and a half ago. But now I'm much better at, like, I've kind of worked through some of that, but I still, 9 times out of 10, I'd rather see a lion as an emperor than an actual human male. Okay, this is one of the examples, like if you watch a comparison between the actual first edition of Starchild and this one, you can see a big difference. Like in the actual first edition, this woman's figure looks, it's a lot thinner. Like, she looks thin right here, but it's a lot thinner, like unnaturally thin. And she's kind of fixed that in a lot of the cards throughout the deck. I was really happy to see that. I'd never had the actual first edition, but just seeing that side-by-side comparison of the video that I watched yesterday, it was just really evident to see that she's gone through and like kind of done her extra blurring thing that she started doing in the last few years with her art, but she also, you know, made the figures a little bit more normal proportions in a lot of the cards. Again, I know I keep saying that, but it's a big deal to me, to make them a little bit more realistic looking. I like both of these. I really like the facelessness, though, in this Hierophant. Hierophant, however you're supposed to say that. For some reason, like, both the Akashic edition of Starchild and this Moonchild, I don't like either of the Lovers cards, but this one I really like. It's gorgeous. I like both of these Chariot cards. It's just kind of cool to see the evolution of someone's art from, like, whenever she made the Starchild tarot, it was more sort of like raw emotion. Like whenever you were first putting your art out there and you're developing your art. I mean, obviously she's already a good artist, so she's been an artist for a long time by the time she put out Starchild, but still, like, seeing the evolution from this Chariot card to this Chariot card, there was probably like 4 years in between these two, perhaps. And you can see there's just a lot more, just like sort of that drive of a person that is just creating, just finding their voice versus someone more established. Like, it's almost like maybe she spent more time with this imagery, whereas with this it was just kind of flowing and she's used to it, and like maybe there's a little bit of apathy involved. Like, I'm taking this too far. I hope you understand what I mean. Both of these are pretty great, but this one does it for me, man. Like, I'm probably most of the time going to prefer the Moonchild, but I really appreciate the, I don't know, just like raw expression in Starchild in this first edition. I just really didn't vibe with the Akashic edition that I had. It was just like too modelly or something for me, but this feels different for some reason. This one doesn't. I mean, that's a very model pose. But the rest of, like, you know, the greens and the purples and the landscape and everything, this is like a, I feel like Starchild is a little bit more of a witchy, earthy deck, whereas Moonchild is more like this sort of spiritual Egyptian, sort of like ancient. There's some more ancient knowledge in Moonchild, whereas Starchild to me feels a little bit, even though it's Starchild, it feels a little bit more down to earth. In Starchild, Justice is 8, but I flipped them because I like Justice as 11. Sorry, my shadow is just constantly in it. I have to sit like way back so that my shadow doesn't get in this. I like both of these. This is probably my favorite card in the entire Moonchild deck. But this one's really interesting with like the tiger and the snake and all the mirror imagery in the water. It's a perfectly balanced image. Like the only difference in the two sides is the different colors here and here. Not a huge fan of the renaming. Like I get, I'm not like against perspective instead of hanged man, but some of the renaming in this deck I think is a little much. Like serenity instead of hermit, but that's okay, you know, it's fine. I like this though. The sort of galaxy in her hair, and I almost prefer this one. Gorgeous. Both of these death cards are gorgeous. I miss some of the, like, it's almost like she took all of the like sort of psychedelic aspects that her art seemed to have back in this time period. Like you don't really see any of that in her newer artwork. So it's kind of sad that that element has kind of been left behind, but I'm just really like struck by the imagery in this. Why am I having such a different reaction to it than I did to the Akashic edition? This one bugs me though. The proportions, I mean, I get that she's supposed to be like, she needs to put herself back together. She obviously needs to put herself back together because something is wrong with her proportions, but I mean, I'll get used to it. Sorry, I need to lean back again. I like the idea of like after the like, you know, being pulled apart in the tower, there are these like structural lines and the geometry and stuff. In the star card, you're sort of putting your structure back together again. I like that. This one I used to not really like, but I'm in love with it now. It's so weird how that can happen. Like when I first got this deck, I was like, meh, I don't like that star card. But now I'm like, wow, that star card is amazing. Like, how does that happen? This, oh, both of these moon cards slay me. I like that there's a little bit more darkness in Starchild. Like, it's almost like Danielle Noel's art has gotten to a point where she just doesn't use hardly any blacks or dark colors. She's gotten, you know, everything has just become lighter and lighter and lighter and more subdued and more blended and more faded. And like, it's missing some clarity and darkness that it used to have. So it's kind of nice to have this Starchild deck because there's a little bit more I feel like there's a little bit more darkness in it. These are both good. Both good. Even though I usually don't like the renaming, I do really like it when Judgment is called Awakening. And I love in Starchild, I love all the cards that don't have people in them. I think they're really powerful. And I wish there were more of them, actually. Because sometimes the people in Starchild distract me. I do like this World card. I don't really like this one very much. It feels too small. I don't know why, but this Universe card feels small to me. This one doesn't. You get sort of the feeling that she's a dancer in the world, of the world, by the world, for the world. The color palette in this card is just like it's a little too cutesy for me or something. For an Ace of Wands, you know, I want a little bit more warmth for an Ace of Wands. Again, this is nothing against Danielle Noel, because like, I know I keep like critiquing her art. Like, sorry, that's the like former art major in me. I don't mean it to be like a bad criticism, because I obviously am in love with her art. I have 5 decks with her artwork in my house right now. So it is obviously not her. I really like a lot of the Wands depictions in Starchild. I like this sort of, it has this sort of like magical witchy aspect, like she's conjuring up this wand. And then in this one, she's sort of sending that energy back out into the universe. Thanks to Supportive Tarot, I'm like, I watched her walkthrough of this deck that she just posted recently, and some of her interpretations of the symbolism, like I don't think I've ever seen any of her videos before, and it was mind-blowing. Like I don't think I would have gotten that, like that sort of conjuring up and then the sending back out of the energy. That was something that she said, and I'm not sure I would have had that same thought, and it's really powerful. Sorry, I don't know her name. Like that was the first video I'd seen of hers, but it's called Supportive Tarot, and I'm subscribing to her immediately. That was great. I really like this one. Despite the white hair thing. I don't know what the fascination with the white hair thing is in the Starchild Tarot, but there's a lot of it. This is great. Like, again, any of the like more pippish cards in Starchild, I want more of them. I think they're so beautiful. And they give you so much space and possibility for interpretation. It's almost like I forget, looking at this card, I forget the normal interpretations of Four of Wands, and my intuition kind of like pulls together, and I think outside the box of Four of Wands, which is great. Again, Supportive Tarot, one of the things she said in this card was she was thinking about like, these wands are her own thoughts and opinions, and then these that she's kind of focused on are the thoughts and opinions of others. And I really like that as an interpretation for Five of Wands, like, because to me, I think of it as, you know, sort of like workplace fighting is what I think of it as, what it shows up as in my life a lot of the time. And so, and a lot of my problems in the workplace are about me paying too much about the thoughts and opinions of others instead of focusing on my own thoughts and opinions. So this totally works for me. Check out the, like, okay, I just want to do this. I looked up in the guidebook, you can see like the name of the models and stuff for the credits for the models and stuff in the back of the guidebook. It's the same in the Moonchild guidebook as well. And this is the same model. You can even see that she's wearing the exact same dress and she's in the exact same position. Like these two pictures were taken like within seconds of each other, probably. Isn't that interesting? I don't know. Last night I just spent a ton of time just like separating them all into piles, and there's like 5 main models in this deck, and then like a bunch of like one-offs of just like one picture of a certain model. And so I like made stacks of like, this model is in it a lot. She's the same as the one from the Wheel of Fortune, and most of like the white-haired chicks in the deck, not all, but most of the white-haired chicks in this deck is the same model. Sorry, I don't remember the names. See, like what I mean by earthy, like the landscapes are so lush in Starchild. In Moonchild, they're more, I mean, they're there, like you can see sand here, but it's more about textures. Moonchild is more about textures, whereas Starchild is more about like actual, I don't know, earth and sky, actual literal earth and sky. Again, witchy vibe, like this is a coven and they're pulling down the wands. I love that. This is also one of my very favorites. I love the sort of like dream catcher aspect going on here. It's like this deck is about transcending, like meditation and transcending to another plane and like ascending to another spiritual realm or something. Whereas this deck is more, I don't know, is more about just like what you do here on Earth. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying, but man, look at that. Both of these 10 of Wands I really like. I think this one, I like this one a lot more actually. Oh my God, this Page of Wands. Look at her. She's just like this like beautiful fairy creature. You know who I wish this was? I wish this was Mint Fairy. Wish Mint Fairy was in one of these decks. She would be a perfect model for this deck. Has a lot more like people from Instagram. Like this is Bakara Wintner who wrote What the Fuck is Tarot? Whereas this deck has more, it seems like it's more like literal models that are depicted, their photographs are used in this deck and Starchild. But in Moonchild, it's more just like people from Instagram. So like they're still models, but usually they're self-curated people. So there's like more of a diverse depiction of people, more diverse in size, more diverse in you actually see more men in this deck, more diverse in like race. Like there's definitely more people of color in Moonchild than in Starchild. In fact, some of the cards in this Starchild were changed, even though it's supposed to be a reissue of the first edition. Some of them were changed to include a few more people of color. But I think she could have gone further with that. I really do. Like, because she spent time going in and editing a lot of the images, like either she could have gone one of two ways, in my opinion. She could have literally like reissued the exact same imagery as the actual first edition and not messed with anything. Or if she was going to mess with things, which she obviously was because she did, then I think she should have gone further with it and added more diversity, you know, diversity in size and race. She did take a lot of the photoshopping out and made people more realistic proportions, like I said. But I think she could have gone further with it, you know, especially when it comes to like, she probably didn't want to like completely take a model out of her deck because that would be kind of sad for that model. But like some of the models that are in several different cards in this deck, she could have taken out a few of those images and replaced them with a more diverse group of people. I mean, that's just me, like, being extra picky, but this just could be a more diverse deck, and that would make me more confident to use it in my readings for other people. So that's just how I feel. Sorry, I had to pause. My Michael just brought me popcorn, but he didn't bring me a beverage. Okay. Just now getting into the cups, and I don't want to eat on camera. This is not a mukbang video. Okay. I like that both of these, and I've said this many times before, like anytime I do any kind of like flip through of Moonchild, I talk about how this looks like a self-love card, since this is obviously a mirror of the same image of the same woman. This has that same vibe to me too, because she's floating, and then these two cups are here. So I like the self-love vibe in a Two of Cups card. I think that's probably, if I were gonna create a deck, my Two of Cups would be a self-love situation. Okay, one of the only cards in the Starchild Akashic Borderless Edition that I had, one of the only ones that I really prefer that version to this original Three of Cups. That one was so gorgeous. It was so dark and rich and beautiful. It was like when I was sending that deck along, I sold it on eBay or something. I took a picture of that card because I knew I was going to miss it so much. I do miss that Three of Cups. This is good too, but I love this one as well. I'm just not that kind of collector that, like, if I don't use a deck a lot, I don't keep it. I just don't. This is one of the ones that it bothers me. I love the cat. I love all the imagery. It's just the model-y aspect of it doesn't feel right to me in this particular context. That's just me, though. That's just me. I love this Five of Cups. It's so beautiful. The colors, the fact that you're on this path through these filled cups. You just have to, like, kind of step over that one that's turned over. That's all you have to do. This is a much more, like, optimistic Five of Cups to me. These are very similar. Sort of looking to the collective past for answers, which is a different way of looking at Six of Cups, but I like it. Love this one. Oh my god, this is one of my favorites. This is one that just, like, didn't change with any of the Starchild editions. This one just stayed almost exactly the same. She probably tweaked, like, the background and stuff like that. But I like this one too. Both of these are really, really great. The colors in this, like the purples and the greens. There's almost, like, no, like, earthy greens in this Moonchild deck. Like, maybe at all, now that I think about it. Whereas you see a lot of, I think that's where I'm getting, like, sort of the more earthy vibe in the Starchild, because you see those, like, earthy, mossy greens, which I love. I really like this. Again, just like pretty much any of the Starchild cards that don't have people in them, I'm so all over it. I'd be happy with this deck only having people in the core cards and the major arcana. Like, I'd love to see, like, that reimagining, like Starchild first edition with the people taken out of all the pip cards edition. That's a really long name. Did you know that this is 3 separate people? 3 separate models. I mean, if you look really close, you can tell, but they have the exact same hair and makeup, and dresses. I mean, the dresses are slightly different and their sizes are slightly different, but other than that, I just thought it was the same person. I don't know. This one confuses me as a Ten of Cups. It looks more like a Three of Cups to me. I love this one though. Love both of these. Also something Supportive Tarot said. I'm just like repeating things that she said because they had such an impact on me when I was watching her video. The Knight of Cups, you know, someone that follows their heart, that like they can only see what they're turned towards. They follow their heart so fiercely that like, I like that, like, you know, the idea is she can only see this cup. She can't see this one because she's not looking at it. It's not her focus. I love this I love both of these Queens of Cups. But this is an example of like Danielle Noel's art before, when it was like a little bit more just raw and expressive. I don't know. She didn't let herself over edit this picture, which I like. Again, just a personal opinion thing. Art critique is always very, very subjective. Love this king. I like that this is kind of a different way to look at the Three of Swords. I really like it. Oh my god, this fucking Four of Swords. I love this one. I've always loved this one. But this one, like seeing it for the first time yesterday, it just slays me. The colors and the cats and the fact that it's not just mirror images. Like this is 4 separate pictures of possibly the same cat, which also gives me like a, you know, Matrix deja vu vibe. And she's so gorgeous. I want her to like be the model in like half this deck. I want her to be like the main model in this deck, but this is the only image of her in this deck. But oh my god, this is a beautiful, beautiful card. I love this one too. I like the composition of this card, but the model, again, anytime I just see like, you know, the bleach white hair and the sort of like super skinny, like sprawled out, it's always the same model too. I mean, no offense against her at all whatsoever, but it's just, for me, it's triggering to see sort of the more typical skinny girl, kind of like white blonde, just for me, just personally, like archetypically it's triggering for me. Again, probably just something I need to work through, but this is fantastic. One of the things, okay, so I got Five of Swords reversed in a reading, and I was looking at this earlier, and I really like the reversed description in the guidebook, so I'm going to read it for you. A shift in negative energy to one of positive change, a need for closure before being able to move forward, fears associated with past traumas or memories, unresolved issues. It could also be that not everyone will agree with the direction you are headed in. Stand strong and listen to your inner voice. Do not let the negative thoughts and opinions of others affect you. And that is so what I needed, just like something I've needed to hear for months, you know? That is something I've been working on, like having sympathy for others, but not empathy. Like I get too overboard with empathy. Being able to see, it's kind of like mantra, being able to see other people's pain without wallowing in it. That is, and seeing the Five of Swords reversed as that image, as that kind of meaning, is just, it's powerful. I love this image too. Wow. Love this. I love this. This might be one of the rare instances, like pretty much every time I end up with 2 tarot decks from the same artist, I end up deciding which one I like better and getting rid of the other one. But this might be, I don't know yet because I've only had this deck 24 hours, but this might be a scenario where I actually want to keep both of these decks. That is just breathtaking. Sorry, I'm more focused on Starchild just because I just got it, but I love Moonchild. It is like one that I keep out of its box. It's one of, I only have 6 tarot decks that I don't keep in their box because I just want to be able to grab them like in 2 seconds, and this is one of them. So this is definitely not me like ignoring Moonchild. It's just that I'm very used to this imagery. This is like a little bit of an earthy green, but this might be as close as this entire deck gets to earthy green, and it's still pretty much a surreal green. But I love that image so much. I love both of these 9 of Swords a lot. I generally, every single depiction that I've ever seen Danielle Noel do of 10 of Swords, I really like. It seems like a better or an easier way to look at 10 of Swords. Like, she doesn't look like she's gonna die from these swords. She looks like she's learning to embrace it. And she looks pretty down, but you know she's gonna be okay, you know? I don't know, I like both of those. I like both of these too. This is, wow, I mean, just look at that color palette. Like, Danielle Noel does not do that bold of color, doesn't have that bold of color choices anymore. She's much more subdued in her color choices now. And seeing this is really inspiring. Just the blue and the pink next to each other is just, it's so striking. It's a very Swords feeling. I like it. I love this though. I love this. This is one of the cards that seem to not have changed very much between the editions, because this was in my Akashic borderless edition that I had before, and I really like it a lot. This is one that was completely changed. I think this is a completely new Queen of Swords. It wasn't in any other Starchild edition, and I am in love with it. This shows you that Danielle Noel is still capable of the vibe that she created with Starchild Tarot. Even though her art has changed so much, she's still capable of now creating, unless this is like an old image that she created and then just didn't use. But presuming that she created it for this edition, this reissue edition, I'm so slayed by this. So slayed by it. And I love that there are 2 swords, because the 2 of Swords and the Queen of Swords I think of as like sister cards. They like can't exist without each other. They're soulmates. And so this looks like a beautiful marriage between 2 of Swords and Queen of Swords. And I'm just so, I'm just like, this is amazing. And this is like in the credits. Let me see what the credits said. Where's the guidebook? For like who the model is, it was like something really generic, like Shutterstock or something. Yeah, model Shutterstock. So this is just like some, you know, image pulled from like a website, you know? But still so beautiful. Don't love pentacles being renamed as crystals. I don't know why. It just seems like a little too woo-woo for me. But that's, again, that's just me. I love this though. and this. Oh my god. I don't think I could even decide between these two. Wow, this one is just so, I love it, you know? It's just the forest vibes in Starchild are so wonderful, and you get only a couple of cards that have forest vibes in them in Moonchild. That's something that's just kind of, it's a little bit missing. Like there's a lot of desert spiritual vibes, but you don't get like a sense of literal landscapes a lot of the time in Moonchild, whereas you can see the space that you're in Starchild, you know? It's not so distorted that you feel like you're in an unreal space, which again, this is one of my top 5 favorite decks, so I'm not against the unreal space. I'm just appreciating where Starchild is coming from right now. This is my card of the month, so I'm going to actually keep this aside. This is one of the ones it had a different figure. Like the card's mostly the same, but there was a different figure, and she switched it out for this person of color. So, like the Queen of Swords was a white woman in the first edition, and it was one of the ones that like I had looked at walkthroughs of the first edition once I had pre-ordered this one, thinking that it was gonna be the exact same imagery, of course, and I really didn't like. I mean, no shade if you do like it, but I really didn't like the actual first edition Queen of Swords and the Queen of Swords. As I just talked about for like 5 minutes, I love the one in this edition so much. So that's one of the ones that's like, I'm so happy that that one was changed. And this one I'm happy was changed too. Like I don't know anything about the other one except seeing it in a video, but this image is an improvement. Anytime you can replace an overwhelming amount of white people with some people of color, it's really always going to be a good idea. 9 times out of 10. This one, like the proportions of her just kind of bug me a little bit because it's very weird. Like, what angle are you looking at this chick so that she looks like that? It's so weird to me, but I just have to like focus on the hair. The hair is very beautiful. I love this. This is one of my very favorite cards in Moonchild. I just love the idea of like steadily walking down this path. Like it goes on forever. Don't you want to be walking that path forever? It's so beautiful. Gorgeous. Being all quiet now. Love this. Knight of Crystals. I love it. I guess I'm just like really into the whole chick sitting in the middle of the forest vibe, because every time I see a card like that in either of these decks, I'm just like, I love it. I love it. Apparently that means I need to go sit in a fucking forest. I love him though, too. He's so gorgeous. I normally don't think that about dudes, but he just looks like somebody that you want to know. Always gonna have a little bit of an issue. Again, here's my issues again with skinny white chicks. And that's this is the 5 of Swords. Like, these images were taken within minutes of each other. Same person. Same photo shoot. Everything. Anyway, love the tiger vibes. Love the entire image here, except for the figure. Because this is something that I've said before, and I will likely say many more times. To me, the Queen of Pentacles, I mean, she's the Empress. To me, the Queen of Pentacles is an older, thicker, usually dark-skinned woman. In my brain, she is that. And this chick is a little not meaty or old enough for my particular image of Queen of Pentacles. But she's gorgeous. That works for me. This doesn't work for me. And it's just the figure. It's just me being like super like critical. So I almost didn't want to like record this video because I tend to like, especially when I first get a deck, I'm very critical of the imagery, and then like hyper critical, like about stupid shit. I just kind of focus on dumb details like I've been doing this whole time. But the truth of the matter is that once I get used to a deck, you know, that stuff sort of falls away. Once I get to know it, I move past it, I work through it. It's not as big of a deal anymore. Anyway, that is my quick and dirty first impressions, side-by-side comparison of the Starchild reissue of the first edition and Moonchild. So both of these obviously super gorgeous decks. It just depends on what kind of vibe you're looking for if you're trying to choose between these two decks, which are both available right now. I think, unless like one of them's temporarily sold out, but they end up coming back in stock. So you should be able to get both of these. So they're both like pretty expensive, but they're worth it. Like they're both super high quality. Anything that she puts out is super high quality. Like she kind of like set the tone for a lot of other decks with how high quality. I didn't like compare the boxes or anything, but like you can see that like other people have that. But anyway, both super gorgeous decks, super worth it. With this Starchild reissue, you can choose between a version that has blue backs and then this version that has pink. I think the box is actually super cool on the one that has the blue backs on the cards, but like I had to go with pink. I'm more of a pink girl than a blue girl, so that's just me. I had to pick based on the card backs. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you guys in the next video.